Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where, well, we make takes, and most of the time they're pretty hot, and we get punished for them. I'm Rob. He's Germ. How's it going?
It's going good, man. I'm ready for another week. I will say I tweeted this out and stuff that this weekend felt a lot better with some LCS and LEC games
Mhm.
to check out.
I would completely agree. I was engrossed in games this weekend, and it felt great. And it made me remember that 5 weeks from now, we're going to be done with the split, and I'm going to be super pumped for playoffs and worlds, but then be sad again for 2 months. So.
Yeah, no, I know it's weird. It's like we love to give our critiques, we love to talk crap. Oh, this sucks, that sucks. But then when it's gone, you're like, you know what? Come on
Can it
back.
come back, please? Oh, I know. And it's like, even like I was looking, I'm going to be real interested to check on the viewership stuff because I talked about it. I did that podcast Palooza thing.
Mhm.
I think maybe I was a little over, what would I say, overzealous about the numbers. They still aren't bad. Like the LCS still does pretty well overall. I think it still averages like combined around 100,000
Yeah,
when you do like YouTube co-streams and
yeah.
Twitch, but um, it is interesting because I think a topic that needs to be talked about and something I may be writing about is does the LCS just lean into the already existing viewers instead of trying to get new ones? So um, that is something that's worth discussing, but we'll see. That's a whole different topic,
Yeah, no, you're all
and
good.
maybe that'll end up being my hot take. We'll see.
Yeah, no, there's so many different opinions out there, so many people saying a different way. I can't even imagine what the conversations and discussions look like behind the scenes for Riot. I'm sure it's just as crazy as all the things you hear going on. I don't know,
Mhm.
but I hope the future's bright. I still have a big part of me that wants to believe that, uh, but we'll see. We'll see.
We will have to see. And with that, speaking of hot takes, I believe that I am currently losing again. I think we need to reword these things because it is crazy that I am losing this one this week. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think my take was all that hot. I do think Takui should be considered in the MVP race. Maybe not second, but he's definitely top three. And
Yeah,
the fact
yeah.
that
I
people
mean,
are not agreeing with that
yeah, I think
is
part of it is just
insane to me.
going to the Flyquest well twice in a row. You're trying to get your Flyquest
Oh,
fans hyped up.
dude, I'm done. I'm done. I went and I talked to the guys over on the Flyquest podcast and Flight Check, and I tried to hype them up even on podcast Palooza,
Get it
and
going.
nobody was buying what I was selling,
Yeah, no,
and
I heard it. Yeah, even on there, they were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you talking about?"
and I the thing is I think I'm still kind of right, even with the TSM loss. Like if you go and you look at like who FlyQuest has lost to and how some of their games have been lost, like this team is still very good. And I guess we'll start there with FlyQuest then. I still think this team is good. I don't care what anybody says, even if they did lose to my LCS preferred team in TSM. They took down 100 Thieves in a pretty convincing fashion. 100 Thieves got one kill. Like one kill in the game. And sure, they were playing like a weird Yasuo comp, but like, dude, they had Wukong, Gragas to set it up. They had Senna Corki for the late game. That's not a terrible comp. It's just, it, FlyQuest said, I don't care. And Jose Diodo and Johnson just popped off. I I still personally think that FlyQuest are a really good team. A loss to TSM hurts them in terms of my power rankings, the way I see them currently. But if you had to like, I don't know, make me guess the fourth best team, I still think it might be FlyQuest. Like, I really just don't believe that. I don't know. It's just it's so hard. It's so hard right now to put them because it feels like it is EG and then four other teams and then five other teams.
Yeah.
And that's about it right now. And I have this belief that that FlyQuest are one of those five top teams right now. And so it's just where do you place them when they can beat Hunter Thieves, but then somehow get absolutely shit on by TSM with three brand new players, including two people at the age of 18, at the tender age of 18. Um, I don't know, man. It was a weird weekend for Flyquest. I do love the team though.
Yeah, no, I mean, you say it's a weird weekend for Flyquest, but every weekend is a weird
Hmm.
weekend for every team, like you said, except for Evil
Yep.
Geniuses. Like every team just has games where they absolutely decide to not show up. TL's had a couple. 100 Thieves seemingly has a game like this where they do just about nothing, like once a weekend, and then it looked
Hmm.
like this, and then they come back and they win the next day. Like it's so frustrating, but yeah, FlyQuest, they're in this mix. Like they have an outside shot at going to Worlds. They have a dark
Hmm.
horse chance, like absolutely.
Yep.
Now, what does best of fives look like? Do teams rise up in the playoffs? That whole type of deal. How's Philip going to do in the playoffs? Who knows? But yeah, nobody else is looking consistently good enough to be like, oh, FlyQuest has no chance. And that's, to me, it's frustrating for some of the other teams. But yeah, it does speak to your point of where, you look at this team on paper and look at where everyone ranked them preseason. The fact that they are in this mix, that's got to say something about Aframu, about Tukoi, about some of these players that they're doing something pretty crazy over there. And yeah, when you look at how, they're never dying, they're always making it to these late game fights, they're always giving themselves a chance. They've played a couple different styles, with the 100 Thieves
Hmm.
game. They played a little slower. They want to play 100 Thieves scaling game, whatever, but they've punched some teams in the mouth before too. I don't know. They're a team you don't want to see early on in the playoffs. They're going to be a tough out. They're going to be in every game.
Yeah, and I think that your point about them being able to play multiple comps is, I think, possibly and arguably the most important part of it, and they can win through multiple lanes. With Johnson and Aframu being, I think, as good as they are, and I think it's time we start putting some respect on Aframu's name. I mean, dude, this guy just, he is the ideal support. Seriously, he is the ideal support. He is the guy who makes your AD carry and the rest of your team better. Plain and simple. I do not care what anybody else says, and that's fine. And he's doing it at the ripe age, not the tender age, the ripe age of 29, almost 30 years
It's
old.
crazy.
He is almost 12 years older than the youngest players in the league. He is a decade older than his top laner. This is crazy what he is doing. Um, and awesome, and awesome. So yeah, definitely a dark horse team. They are really interesting. I believe they have a pretty interesting week coming up too. Let me see if I can bring that up here. We got Golden Guardians and then Dignitas. So why I say that's interesting, because I remember writing about this in my power rankings that will be coming out at thegamehouse.com later this week. Little self promo there. the the thing is like they have a real opportunity here to leapfrog teams. I mean, Golden Guardians and Dignitas are very easy to beat teams, and FlyQuest are one game behind Liquid, one game behind 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Both of those teams, I believe, have tougher weekends. With 100 Thieves, well, not really. 100 Thieves plays TSM, but then they play Evil
EG, yeah.
Geniuses. Team Liquid play CLG
And Immortals.
and Immortals. So now TL should 2-0 as well.
Right.
100 Thieves are probably going to 1-1. FlyQuest have the opportunity to be the third best team at a minimum next week. I mean, that is crazy to me. And I think it just I just have so much respect for that org. They just have so much less resources than everybody else. I don't think everybody realizes that. There's a reason why they only own like 2 or 3 teams. They don't have as much money as everybody else. They're constantly looking to put and piece together really good teams. Like when you take Johnson, who was struggling, and put him with Aframu, and then you see him doing well. When you take your chance on Takui, a person who was on, I believe, the 7th best LFL team, if I remember correctly. He was popping off,
Right,
but
that's
like,
what I was gonna say. He was
yeah,
was probably
he
a
was
little bit
playing
better
well.
than that. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But like, his team
Yeah.
was struggling, so
Yeah,
you
he
wonder
wasn't
how he's gonna
super
do.
super proven.
Exactly. You take your chance on Jose Diodo, right? Who really looked terrible in his first year
Yeah.
and has started to figure it out this year. And then you take another chance on Philip, who you fully admit is worse than Kumo, and has been able to go toe to toe with every laner who is not named Soul for some reason. That one still is baffling.
Yeah.
But this team, this organization, there is something fun. There's something special. They do this every year. I think people like to forget that 2020 year where they finished second twice with a roster that really shouldn't have been there in the first place. I mean, for God's sake, Solo was their top laner, and they still went to a finals. Like, Power of Evil, who's on Immortals, he's arguably the worst team in the LCS right now.
Butt of every joke right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I have so much respect for this org. It makes it seem like maybe I'm like, some Flyquest fanboy. I'm really not.
Maybe.
No, trust me, I'm not. I appreciate what they're doing.
Definitely.
And I think this team is fun to watch, and I can't wait to see how far they go, honestly, because them finishing 5-4 with all the questions surrounding their top laner, through this first round robin, dude, I think the rest of these teams are scared. I think that is a absolutely great take.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't one of the teams that we see, go 3-0 the Super Week where they played the 3 bottom teams or something like that. We're through the first round robin. Every team, if any team out there doesn't think they're legit or whatever, every team had a crack at them. Yeah, they're a game back of TL and 100 Thieves that everybody else is like, oh, you guys are like overreacting. The 100 Thieves and TL have lost a couple games. Like, Flyquest only lost one more. They're right there with them, and maybe it'll hold up in the second half. Maybe it won't. We'll have to wait and see. But it's an interesting storyline that they're there, and huge props, huge. I mean, it's fun to watch. They're not a boring team. They're not. It's not like they're cheesing wins or anything like that. They're mixing it up and finding ways with the pieces and resources that they have to do something. And that's better than most of the teams in the LCS. Like, what would this team look like with some resources or with a little bit better, upgrades here or there, or even like facility wise, stuff like that. Like, you got to think about the extra resource that other teams have behind the scenes as well that add to, quality of life and longevity and, there's a lot of other stuff that goes into this thing too. But yeah, I mean, you gotta give them huge props so far. Hopefully they keep it up in the second half as well, because we need those good teams. We need those teams, even if we still think that our top teams are the top teams. We need people pushing them, and we need exciting games to watch more than like the 2 times that the good teams play each other.
Agreed, and I think we could go on about this, but I do want to take that point real quickly about our top teams pushing each other. This legitimately feels like the first year where we have 5 really good teams. I mean, if you told me that any of a 3 of Evil Geniuses, 100 Thieves, Team Liquid, Flyquest, I'll put them in there, and Cloud9 were to go to Worlds, it might be the first time that I kind of would be like, okay. And I'll be honest with you. Here's my hot take, actually. I'm coming up with this one on the spot. I had a different one, but I'm doing this one. If Evil Geniuses, Flyquest, and C9 all went to Worlds, I actually think that would be the most exciting NA that we have had in a really long time. I like 100 Thieves and TL, but I think they play it a little too safe, and I think they're a little slow to adapt to teams that push them too much. So my hot take is going to be that I think that the most exciting for NA would be Flyquest, C9, and Evil Geniuses.
Gotcha. Well, this is probably a good time to drop mine in here too. I was deciding.
Let's go. We're doing back to back.
I was deciding between a couple, but I want to get mine in. That I think right now, I think the teams are close, and I think a lot of the teams are competitive. But I think just when I watch a couple of the teams, I think they're fully not there. You said TL style, 100 Thieves style. C9, I've been saying all split, like, hey, I think they're going to get better. I think they're going to be ramping up. They're clearly not there yet. Maybe they'll get there, maybe not. But I think Jensen's been a little bit more underwhelming than I would have liked so far. Fudge, maybe even so as well. And then Flyquest, they're fun. They're exciting. I like watching them right now. But do I think they're going to be crazy, anything like that? And then I'm watching the LEC. Same type of stuff going on. God. I don't know what's going on over there. My hot take is that Evil Geniuses is going to be the only Western team to get out of groups this year at Worlds.
Okay. If you don't win this week, I am going to be floored. Lord, I know you have European watches.
That's part of what I was going into,
upset.
And that's funny. Yeah, they all instantly are gonna hate that. But like, okay, just last year, it was already possible that EU didn't get a team out of groups. Mad Lions gets into the tiebreaker the very last day, and Mad Lions was a team that was pretty dominant throughout the year last year. They win back-to-back titles. They went to MSI. They made it to semis. They probably shouldn't have got out of groups. Like, I don't know. Yes, they did make it out, but like TL could have very easily made it over them, whatever. Other than that, EU didn't look so great. Fnatic drama, all that. I don't think any of the European teams right now are looking better than that Mad Lions team did last year. I don't know if I think that the NA teams are looking better than the NA teams last year either, except for Evil Geniuses, who I think right now looks better than they did at MSI, looks better than they were in spring. This is part of me being very high on EG, better than any team we saw in the West last year, but also me not being super confident or super loving any of the other teams in the West right now.
And I think there's good and bad to that. And I think, we will talk about the rest of these teams. Don't worry, we got plenty of time. But I think when you bring up is very interesting, because for those of you who don't know, I'm going to bring up the LEC standings real quick, because they are something to behold.
Yeah, part of that comes from, I think G2's on a 4-game losing streak. I think they're 1-5 in their last 6.
Yes,
and like
they
this
are
is
bad right now.
This is the team that was. Oh, they beat EG 6 times or whatever. They also lost to minor regions multiple games at MSI, and they look way worse right now than they did at MSI. So like, they might not even make Worlds.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Rogue is basically the Evil Geniuses over there right now, just in terms of record wise, because they're 7-2. But like, then you have, these are all the teams within 2 games of each other.
It's crazy.
Mad Lions at 6-3, Excel at 5-4, Vitality at 5-4, Misfits, who have been on fire, at 5-4, Fnatic at 5-4, G2 at 4-5, and Astralis at 4-5, and SK Gaming are 3-6 after
everyone has
weekend.
a chance. Yeah. And
it is nuts.
Yeah, and the talent is super spread out. When I look at every single LEC roster, you're like, oh, that guy's kind of sick. That guy's kind of sick. This is a cool team. And then you're like, oh, Mad Lions has Arma at top lane. Like, oh, like each team just has this one guy where I'm like, okay, like I'm not loving sending Arma at top lane to Worlds. Like, in my high on Mad Lions, Rogue.
That's so bad. I love Arma.
I've been on Arma for the past couple of years saying stuff like that. But then you have like Rogue, they're always here. Is this gonna be, oh, this is the split that Rogue's actually gonna do it? Like, okay, we'll see. Excel is a really cool story. I don't think they're there yet. I'm not sending Nuke Duck to Worlds and being like, hey, Excel's getting out of group. Like, each team has some exciting pieces and has a player that's gonna win you a couple games. But every team is just incomplete. And then the LCS, TL and 100 Thieves frustrate me to hell right now. And I don't know. So it's super weird.
I love it. I think your take is hot, but I'm going to influence it and probably hurt myself. I don't think it's a bad take personally. Like, I actually think it's a pretty good take. I just know everybody else, if they don't listen to this part, that's on them. I'm supporting you right now, but this is an LCS show, so we will focus on that. But I will tell you, the LEC, if you are not watching it and you don't have anything better to do on your Friday mid-afternoons, dude, turn that stuff on. It is wackadoodle over there.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Seriously.
It's fun. The broadcast is good. The talent is good. The players are fun. Like, I get why the LEC is doing well, but like, this is not 2019. This is not 2018. This is not is LEC or LPL the second best? They're close to NA. Like,
NA is, and that's the thing, is like, I think people like to give you a similar feeling. I think, oh man, we still have so much to get through with these teams, but I'll give this real quick. Outside of Evil Geniuses, like I said, 100 Thieves, Liquid, Flyquest, C9, maybe if CLG find a good meta picks or something, they can maybe get back in that conversation. But like, the fact that the LCS, after 1.5 years, maybe 2 years of really trying to revamp this academy, system and this amateur system, is already seeing good young talent come up and take these next steps in multiple areas. Like, dude, I think the narrative's going to change here pretty soon. And maybe I'm just sucking on some serious hopium, but like, I listen, I'm willing to admit that. I want NA teams to win. When TSM is not at Worlds, and even when they are, I just want to see NA perform well. I want to see EU perform well. And it's not that I have anything against these LCK or LPL teams. I like them too. But for League of Legends to, I think, grow, and for Worlds and everything to be so much more exciting, you want all 4 regions to be competitive. The more competitive it is, the better it is, in my opinion. Like this last Worlds, I thought was pretty solid. Most of the teams did well. In fact, I think the LCS performed better than the LEC. I think most people would agree with that. Like, and if that's the case already, and you have a team like Evil Geniuses who's coming out of the freaking woodworks to just really be a problem, I think, for these other teams for potentially a while. I think we should dive into EG. I think this is a perfect segue. We talk about them all the time,
Yeah.
but it's like, dude, it looked like they were well on their way to their second loss, right? I believe, which game is this? It was their first game against Dignitas, right? You're thinking, oh boy, like Big is playing really well. Gamsu brought out that Shyvana and is causing problems for Impact.
Impact
Oh,
0-3.
Yeah, Impact's 0-3 like right now. Like, dude, there's not a more tilt-proof player in League of Legends in my mind than that guy. I've seen him go 0-5 and bring it all the way. I'm looking at him. I got him on my fantasy team, and I'm like, shit, I am so screwed. And then he goes, oh, sorry, let me just go get 6 kills in a row and bring this whole thing back. And you're like, oh my God, this man is a genius. How is he so good? And it's like, I really did. I'm watching this game and I'm like, dude, they have Zeri who scales really well. The Sylas has a bunch of good ults to take away. Shyvana is wreaking havoc all over League of Legends right now with this tank build. She's nuts.
Yeah.
Diego's resets are great, and Lulu's incredible for scaling. I really was like, dude, this game is over. And then they just keep making plays. Dude, this Evil Geniuses team might be, and I know this is crazy to say, this might be one of the best all-time teams. This may be a team that is up there with like the 2017 TSM team. I mean, this is nuts. I cannot express how impressed I am with this team where they come in, game out, you put them behind, doesn't matter. You try to make a great comeback in the late game, doesn't matter. This team has balls of steel, and they just don't give a shit. They will come out and find a way to beat you no matter what. And maybe I'm giving more hot takes by saying they're even close to that, Double Lift, Bjergsen, Svenskeren team, but like, bro, it feels like it. This team is so good, and I'm so worried that they're going to somehow shit the bed at Worlds. I hope not, because this team should go all the way there and perform well.
Yeah, and that's what makes it weird when you only have the 2 international tournaments a year. Like, you have 6 games, you have 6 best of ones, and depending on your draw and stuff, like, it's so high variance, and no one, that's like such a nuanced conversation that no one, you're not gonna get it through like on Reddit or Twitter or something of like, this literally means nothing. Like, yes, Korea usually makes it out and China usually makes it out. That means statistically they probably have some kind of edge or whatever, but that doesn't mean that we're like, galaxies away or anything like that. It's 6 best of ones. But yeah, I think that's interesting because I was considering going in a direction like that as well, that this EG team, I think it's a little too early, but they definitely could be one of the best teams ever. Part of that is, you think about some of the best LCS teams of all time, like some of those TL teams are definitely in there, back to back to back to back, whatever. I was never super, super high on them because I think one thing EG has on them is they were all veterans. This EG team, a lot younger, still getting better. Yep. Who knows what the future has in store? But also those TL teams, they did one thing. They did it really great. They had we're going to play through Double Lift. We have maybe the best player in LCS history. He's going to get it to a late game team fight. And Double Lift was insane. Double Lift was so good. He was so cracked. If you had Double Lift, you won the LCS title. But it never worked internationally. They made an MSI final. They had an insane series against IG, whatever. Double Lift has never made it out of groups at Worlds. And you just knew, like, hey, this team, they're going to go 15-3. They're going to win the title. But if this is what it is, it's never going to be good enough. And this EG team, they're a little bit faster, a little bit more exciting. They still have the Danny. They still have that late game win con, but they can do a little bit more. Now, maybe they won't be able to do more internationally, but I love that right now they're at least trying and they seem willing to go out and try. And we've seen them already have one somewhat successful international tournament. And like I said, I think they are better than they were then, and I hope they can continue to still get better. So yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say that this team is on that track, and maybe they're already there. Who knows? That the bar isn't like sky high, so it's not super crazy to say. But yeah, this team they have the talent. They have an exciting play style, and they have a play style that might be transferable to actually accomplishing something too, which that's my problem with some of these other LCS teams right now and with some of the LCS teams of the past.
And I think what you're saying again, I think, dude, you and I are just in a mind meld today, it feels like, because I completely agree with you. And I think what's interesting is when you really look, I think, at the way this team plays, they aren't that TL, because TL was just play late game, let double if scale, don't let him die. And sure, like other players would have good games, but like it was clear who they built that team around. You could legitimately play through any player in this entire roster, and you already have arguably the best jungler in the LCS. You have arguably the most consistent and possibly the best top laner. And it's like, it feels like what's crazy to me is like in the past, it was like with TL, it was like, yeah, they're the best, right? Like every player, top of the, all pro team, blah, blah, blah. What I think is crazy about this team is it's not just because they're playing together. I think if you were to take most of these players and individually put them on other teams, I still think they might be the best at their role. I did not always feel that way with those old TL teams.
Right.
I mean, I can't, like, I don't know. I guess Poe Belter might be the best example. I don't know that guy was actually the best LCS mid laner at any point.
Yeah, or Xmithy
really
too.
good?
Xmithy
Sure.
Xmithy did a lot of good things,
Yeah.
and Xmithy's a great player on a great team, but you put him on a mid tier
Yep.
team, he's not going to be like competing for MVPs or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he like literally went straight to Immortals and did nothing, right? Ole went to Golden Guardians and was out of the league. Like,
Right.
you put Vulcan has had success, Impact has had success individually. Then you take Inspire to literally won an MVP on another team in a different region. It's like, I know we're repeating some of these points, but I hope the viewer, the listener, like really understands how good this team is. They play multiple styles. They could play through any lane. They don't even have to play through a lane. They could play through their freaking jungler and win a game. If they honestly wanted to, they could probably want to run a comp with Vulcan playing freaking Yasuo and win the game through that too. Like, this team is that good right now. What I actually want, and this is going to sound super contradictory, I actually hope they like lose 2 or 3 games. And I almost kind of hope that they have to make a lower bracket run because I think that that's what's going to strengthen them to like go to Worlds. Like I don't want them to, I shouldn't say that. What I want them to do is guarantee top 3 and then lose that game and then win the finals. Like that's what I want because I think, and I'm sorry, EG, I'm sure if you ever listen to this, all of you are going to be like, hey, screw you. Like, why would you ever want that? We would just want to win all the way through. But like, I want them to have some of that battle test because I think this time rolling through the LCS isn't going to be good for you. I think actually losing some games to some LCS opponents is going to give you a little bit more diversity. Like, I don't know. I know it sounds maybe really dumb, but like I do want them to lose a couple games because I want to see if this team can run off of losing, if they can recover from a bad streak because right now they are just on fire. I mean, they are whether everything that they wanted to do at MSI, I feel like other than beat G2, they accomplished. I mean, for God's sakes, they beat T1.
Right.
That was probably such a huge confidence boost for this team. There's a small part of me that worries that they are just so confidence driven that they really need something to challenge them before they get to the finals, before they get to Worlds, just so that they can at least be something. And I picked TL to win. I was hoping that would happen this past week. Dude, if you look at the score lines between Evil Geniuses and Dignitas and Evil Geniuses and TL, they're basically the same.
Yeah.
It is crazy. They are just making teams look like that all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, we could gush about this team forever, but we're never gonna get through everybody else. So, any final thoughts for EG?
No, I think it's JoJo in his post game interview talked about how they can kind of coast and still beat teams in the LCS right now. So that's definitely a concern of mine. Is like, I think it would be nice if they face some adversity, but hopefully that's from other teams stepping up rather than them stepping down. But I also think there's some merit in going for a 17-1 split. Trying to do some crazy stuff too. I don't know, but hopefully they're on the right track,
baby. I agree. All right, let's continue our discussion here. Sorry, let me bring this up, guys. Working on this here. I don't know. Let's go to TL. We're talking trash about them, kind of. I mean, they're still out here winning games. I went and looked. TL have only lost to 100 Thieves, Evil Geniuses, the two teams that are arguably as good or better than them,
Mhm.
and then the random game to TSM, which TSM seems to be doing to teams at
Yeah.
will.
When
It's
when
very
they
strange.
decide to. Yeah.
Yeah. So this TL team, they did show me something this weekend, though, Jeremy. I do feel like they tried to play a little bit more up tempo, and I feel like they are recognizing their faults. Like that game that they lost to Evil Geniuses, they actually were doing pretty well in the early game. It was just like one or two fights, which Evil Geniuses does this to teams, and I've always remembered this from international teams, which is again why I'm so hyped for EG, is it's like NA teams always look pretty solid early game, like they're keeping it together, they're not looking too bad, and then they lose two fights and then it's over.
Yeah.
It's like TL did that almost exactly in this game. They lost a fight up near I want to say it was like Red Krugs or something like that, and then they lost one more by the Dragon. It was basically over. But I like what I'm seeing. Like they're trying to do something new, and I think that I'm hoping that this is the sign of them limit testing more than actually just not playing well, because I don't feel like this comp that they played against Evil Geniuses was very Team Liquid like. When you're playing the Lucian Nami, the Volley Bear, and yes, I understand Bjergsen's Zillion came out, but that's the first time he's played it, I think, since he's come back, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then, the Aatrox. Like, I don't love that pick. It clearly didn't work very well into the Gnar, but they're trying things out. They're testing things out. I believe even Gangplank was available, if I remember correctly, possibly for Bwipo. I'd have to go back and check, but regardless, my point is I think TL are a solid team still. I really do. And I think if they're going to test stuff, this is the time. They're going to make playoffs. They're going to make, double elimination bracket. And one thing I do know about a team that is led by Bjergsen, when he decides he wants to turn it on and not lose to anybody other than maybe one other team, that's what's going to happen, at least during the regular season. So say what you will, maybe it's a little bit of bias on my part, but yeah, this team still feels fine. I really hope that they're learning from these losses, because they are very important losses, because they're not gaining anything, it feels like, against teams below them.
Right.
Like they're
Yeah.
just smacking them and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, and I think that's what's frustrating is that they win fast and they win convincingly against the teams that they're better than, but it seems like, I mean, in that 100 Thieves game, they looked so bad, and then this Evil Geniuses game, they looked so bad.
Yep.
It's like they don't have like close wins or close losses. Like they either stomp or get stomped, and that's so weird, because they get beat down really bad, and then they stomp the next game, then they stomp a game, then they get beat. It's like as soon as you're high on them, they let you down. As soon as you're low on them, then they surprise you. It's very, very strange. I would say that since they are convincingly beating the teams below them, I'm probably still second most confident about them, behind Evil Geniuses. Definitely a huge gap between them and Evil Geniuses, but if we're talking about this clump, probably still have TL second. I'm not super happy about, what's going on with them. I will say it's weird. You're talking about them experimenting, still trying out some things. It's just strange to me that Bwipo, he had that interview after the first game. He's like, hey, this split we talked about in the offseason, we figured out we're just going to play through bot lane and nobody's going to stop us. We have Han Sama with Core JJ. Yeah, and I haven't really seen that, but then, yeah, they're trying out other stuff now, like a couple weeks into the season. If that was their game plan, maybe it stopped working. Maybe they forgot about that. Maybe they just have so many different ideas and, we're so good, we can do so many different things that they can't do anything. Because, yeah, they're doing a lot of things good, but if we're, those old TL teams, we're talking about, oh, they did one thing great and they could do nothing else. This team can do a lot of things good, but can they do anything great? Are they going to beat good teams ever, let alone consistently? That's what I'm worried about. I don't know. The players are so good, but Bwipo's been underwhelming. Han Sama has definitely not been 2021 World Han Sama. That's frustrating.
It's extremely frustrating, and if we had more time, we will dissect it, and hopefully next week, I think we'll be able to maybe spend a little more time on them. Quickly through a couple of these teams. 100 Thieves, they look good. I mean, in all reality, Abadage was their biggest problem. Sure, that first game against Flyquest, I think that was maybe one of their fluke games. Not to take away from FlyQuest, because I do genuinely believe that team is good.
Mhm.
They tried out a comp. It didn't work for them. It should have, but it didn't. I actually would have preferred if they put Poogie on the Senna and FBI on the Yasuo. But yeah, maybe that's semantics. I don't think it is really. But then they were like, you know what? We're going to go back to our bread and butter, and we are going to absolutely clap, clap CLG. Um, it was awesome. I mean, this team looked great, and Abadage, I think for maybe the second or third time this whole split, like legitimately just smacked Palafox around on that Silas. I mean, he looked great, and it's like that's the Abadage that I think 100 Thieves fans want to see on a regular basis. So I don't think there's a whole lot else to dive into with them, but you got some thoughts on what they're doing right now. They're
Yeah,
still up there.
yeah, they're good. They keep winning games. They're 6-3. I know I saw some people being like, "Yeah, this is like the most highly criticized 6-3 team ever." But I mean, there still just is a lot of, I think, a lot left to be desired. The game against FlyQuest, 1 kill. The week before against TL, they have the 1 kill at 30 minutes or whatever. Like these games were just like literally nothing is happening. It's like pulling teeth watching some of these games. But they are good. They still find the victories. They find the good things. But it's like when they're bad, they're so bad.
They're terrible.
Yeah, but then they show up. They're still good. They're going to be there in the playoffs. They're going to, they're also, Closer and Abadage really seem like guys that get up for the bigger games, the bigger moments.
Agreed.
So I think they're going to be fine, but I wish they were more exciting. I wish they were more interesting because I think they can be. I wish they. You're talking about TL, like revving it up in the early game a little bit more. Maybe 100 Thieves should do that. Maybe not. Maybe they're so good at the late game fights that they should just keep doing this and get really good at it. I don't know, but I don't enjoy watching them a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I really think that FBI and Closer specifically are very fun, good, really good players. And I would like to see them, maybe push the team to be a little more outside the box. I mean, they're 6-3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can afford to maybe play some weirder styles against the better teams because in all reality, like, yeah, you may lose to them, you may win to them.
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. Yeah, just go out and try something new. Like, regardless, you're going to play one of the best teams in the first, 2 series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter. If you're not going to be first or second, it really doesn't matter. If I'm actually an LCS team, I don't want to be first or second because I don't love that week off for most of these teams. Yeah. I mean, I think Evil Geniuses might be the only team that would be okay with a week off, honestly. I think the rest of them should try to get that experience, but, whatever. Yeah, they could be fun. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. CLG. And then we'll do CLG, Golden Guardians, Dig, and then we'll close with C9 and TSM because everybody loves those teams. CLG are bad, dude.
Yeah,
I don't think they're
bad. The players individually I just think are not great. With them, I actually appreciate the style that they're trying. Like, yeah, they got stomped by 100 Thieves. And Palafox, he's not good. He's getting ran over. He kind of, he is who we thought he was. Maybe the first couple weeks he was Superman, but now he's not. But they're trying to make plays. These guys are not afraid. They're getting confidence from somewhere. You listen to Contracts, Palafox, these guys talk. They believe the stuff they're saying, it seems like, and they go out and they try to make these plays. They're not making them right now. They're just not making them. But I do hope that CLG as an organization, as a team, this roster is going to be different next year. It's not going to be the same 5 guys. They're going to move some parts around. I hope they keep this style. I hope they keep this energy. I hope they keep this mindset. Because if they ever do develop a couple, fun prospects, I think this is a good style. It's not working right now, but I don't think their players are good enough anyway. It's not like, if they played a different style, this team would be going to Worlds. It's like, no, your players aren't that good. But you're trying, and I respect that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they are 2-4 since they're immaculate 3-0. I like to remind people, not because I'm a jerk, but more because I think that it's worth noting. Their 3 wins were against Dignitas, a apparently bad TSM team that they still almost lost to, and then Golden Guardians, who they're better than. I mean, I think that they just are better than that team right now, at least. So. They were playing better than the sum of their parts. The sad part is that a lot of the time, unless if your team is already good and then they're playing better than the sum of their parts, meaning they're elite for a time, this team was probably pretty average and then playing well, right? I CLG fans should be happy. They're not 10th.
Yeah.
They will not be 10th. They are a this is a good step for this organization, like you said.
Yeah.
And there
And
are, I think Luger is still worth building around. I wish they would
definitely.
play through him more. I don't
Yeah.
understand why all of a sudden they were like, yeah, we're gonna play through Dokla or Palafox when you have Luger, who is
They were
still
getting caught up
better
in the
than both of them.
storylines. They
Yeah,
saw
and
some
it's
big
like,
Dokes tweets and they were like,
yeah, Dokla is better than he was the first time
yeah,
around,
but that
but
doesn't
he
mean
is,
he's worth
yep,
playing
he's
around.
still, yep, he has still got to, he's got to relearn to play weak side
Yeah.
and play it well if he wants to last in this league. And contracts just ain't it, man. Sorry, he's just not it. I think he needs to be gone. I think this team is a lot better without him. Sorry. Go down to academy, teach some young players,
Yeah.
learn how to be a good coach one day. I think he can absolutely do that. Um, I know he was always one of the exciting prospects, and he's learned, I think, a valuable lesson in his life, and can help, again, help younger players learn how to deal with being the hype guy at
Yeah.
some point. So yeah, sad about that with CLG. Uh, Golden Guardians, they are also who we thought they are. It's really weird because I'll be honest with you, they're 4-5. They play a lot of teams a lot closer than I think. They rarely feel like they get stomped. Um, I'm hearing some things that maybe Leader might actually replace a Blaze Olive, which I think would be a huge mistake. But I mean, if he does, then CLG should be knocking on that door like
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, one, what you thought about that, and then two, yeah, what would be next for Blaze? Oh, but yeah, I actually think that is a great landing spot for Blaze. I think he's good.
I
Yeah,
think
I
he's
don't
really
think
good.
he's ever taken like the next step up, but I think he's good enough to stick around, and he's gonna
Well,
help a team, especially like CLG. I think that'd actually be a great place for him.
well,
But
think about
yeah,
his junglers. His junglers have never been very good
right.
at all.
Yeah,
And
he
Pride
hasn't been set
Stalker's
up for success ever.
yeah, and Pride Stalker's not a bad jungler necessarily, but he has very specific champions that he's very good at. And then everybody else he's kind of mediocre, and he doesn't actually really help the mid jungle synergy. Like
Yeah.
he reminds me of a poor man's um what's his name over from who was playing top lane for Vitality B. What's his name?
Vitality B.
Yeah,
Uh,
who self-made. He
Okay.
reminds me
Oh
of
yeah,
a much
the
poorer
roll
man
swap.
self-made where yeah, well where he needs
I
yeah.
didn't know what you
Where
meant.
sorry, yeah, so
The
no,
top lane.
he needed yeah, I mean the thing is he needs Pride Stalker needs a lot of
Yeah.
he needs time. Like he needs resources. And I think on other teams, like I actually think funny enough, I actually think Pride Stalker on CLG would actually be a better fit for him right now. But
Yeah.
regardless, you know, we'll talk about off-season stuff when the off-season comes. Trust me, that'll be
Mhm.
a very good topic for Gemini. You guys are gonna get sick of all the different theories we throw out there and why it could work. But I do not hate this team. I do not love this team. I still think they have arguably the worst bot lane in the LCS. And that's saying something, especially
Yeah.
with some of the moves that have been made recently.
Right. Yeah.
It's
I
not
don't
to,
get the Ole hype. I know we've talked about that a couple times before too. The
I
org
just don't get
loves
it
him.
either.
Yeah. And
They love him. They love him. And even they love Stixay, man. It's like kind of decide on what Stixay is going to be. Is he going to be a player? Is he going to be a personal coach? Is he going to be a head coach? Is he going to be a support? What do you want him to be? Because right now, like he's not bad.
we
But
just
he's
want to
not
have him around,
good.
whatever it takes.
Yeah, they just want him there. So
we got a spot
Golden
open.
Guardians.
Okay.
Yeah. Dignitas had one of their best early games of the year. Gamsu again brought out that Shyvana that
Yeah.
I think
Out of nowhere.
was cool, but they didn't do anything with it. But this is a team that I actually think individually they have some pretty good players. Like I don't mind River. I think Blue has actually played better than I thought he was going to, and even this week he looked fine-ish, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
It's
Like
all relative.
yeah, he
He
didn't
didn't
get
look like
like
Bjergsen, but he looked
stomped.
fine for a Dignitas mid laner.
Exactly. And it's like I hate saying that because it's just like I don't know what to do next, but
Right.
I really do think if you kept a core of River, Neo, which everybody keeps shitting on Neo, I don't get it. Neo is not that bad. Like he is in my opinion, Neo is a pretty solid bot laner who maybe just needs the Afromu touch again. I don't know. Maybe Afromu is really
Yeah,
just that good.
everybody needs Afro.
Apparently, I don't know. Like Bio has been fine. It's just like they don't have. I think what this team is lacking more than anything is a star, and they have three players at really important positions who are not performing well. Between Gamsu, Blue, and Neo, regardless of whose fault it is, you're not going to win games because you have really good junglers and supports. You need people who can carry when you call on them, when you give them the resources to carry. His team isn't doing that right now,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate. But I mean, Dignitas are in a pretty bad spot. I think they are the worst team in the league. I think even their win against TSM was pretty fluky. If you go and look up the LCS standings on Google for some reason, they're the only team that is wrong. It still has them at 1-7, and I think that's hilarious because it's almost like it's not counting one of their
Yeah.
wins for some reason. It's like I don't under. It's been like this for like 3 weeks now, so
Yeah,
I'm like,
the Google stuff's always
what's going
weird.
on here? Yeah, I know, right? So it's just like I don't know. Like I don't know. There's not much to say about this team. They're kind of boring.
Yeah,
They're not
definitely.
very good.
Yeah, the only thing I don't want to sound like a broken record because I say this for every team that isn't very good in the LCS, but it's like I would like to see them have a young, exciting player on their team, and like, hey, those
Yep.
the truly good ones don't grow on trees, but I mean, you got a lot of other players that aren't so great. Like maybe have a little bit worse academy player, and it's like, yeah, they have Blue, but like I don't mean Blue. I mean not Blue, like somebody else. And it's
Well,
like Gamsu is the guy they brought in. Like, oh, that's so bad. You're a bottom tier team, and you're gonna be a bottom tier team next year too, like 100%. And you're not gonna have anybody to sell off. You're not gonna have anybody to tune in to watch. Like, I don't know. I don't know what position. I don't know if it's top lane or AD carry or support or whatever. But like, you gotta have somebody.
I just don't know if this team's got the right people in place or the resources. It's really interesting because Will, who's one of my top prospects right now, he was in this organization. They let him leave to go to school, which is cool of them, awesome. But they should have had in his contract that he was coming back because that was just letting him go. He's going to be one of the bigger jungle prospects that you haven't heard of yet, but he's on 100 Thieves Academy and helping that team just be really, really good. I'm just telling you guys, like, this organization, they're not looking very good. Like everybody likes to give TSM crap. I get it. That's fine. But dude, compared to Immortals and Dignitas, TSM are trying. They are
Right.
making moves. They are still better. Like I just I don't know. Dude, Dignitas just is it's sad. It really is. I was excited for them to come back and like they had that split where I was like last year, that spring split, I was like, "Oh shit, this team might be pretty good." And then they just flopped. They just couldn't figure out what they were going to do in the mid lane, and it was bad.
Yep.
I'm sad. I'm sad. I like Dignitas. I think they're a cool team. It's just the new organization doesn't care.
Yeah,
And
they are not what they were as a team brand anything.
no, no, no.
They got the same name, but
Um,
that's it. They bought the name.
that's it, right? All right. Let's quickly talk as quickly as I guess we can about Cloud9 and TSM. Cloud9 are 4-2 with their main roster. If you were to put this in the perspective of every other team, I'd have to check this for sure, but I believe they would still be at or near the top.
They have
Four
this.
and two.
They have the same win rate as TL and 100 Thieves
Okay. In these last
in the last
in these last 3 weeks.
Well, I just mean like
Last six games.
6-3, 4-2. If you
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I just didn't know if since week 1. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're yeah. So since they have started these last 3 weeks, yes, they have the same win percentage. They are a good team. And Sven is looking more and more comfortable. I actually kind of his Braum got caught out a lot in their last game, but he still like made good plays, I feel like, and he's learning how to roam around the map correctly. It is funny he is stealing a lot of kills, which is kind of funny. Like I think he still has that mindset of
yeah,
last clicking
he's go
on
go
stuff
forward. Yeah, make
for
plays.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, but like dude, I don't give a flying anything that they lost to Immortals. I don't
Yeah.
care. I really, truly do not care. Similar to how I didn't care when TL or Flyquest lost to TSM. Like it doesn't matter. Like the Immortals game, good for them. They were able to come back. It was a weird game from Cloud9. Like I still don't understand the Kindred Aphelios decision. Felt weird. Whatever. Like Blabber likes to bring out that Kindred like once a split. Most of the time it doesn't work, but on the occasions it does. He looks like a genius.
Yeah.
I'm throwing that out the window. I really don't care. Like this team had an easy week. They went 1-1. Okay, whatever. Like anybody who's down on this team, I think you are out of your mind. I personally believe, I don't have it in my power rankings because I can't put a 4-5 team up this high. I just can't do it. But like I still believe that this is probably the second best team in the LCS overall. And I think I believe if they had all 5 of their players there to start, I think this team would be somewhere in the vicinity of like 7-2. 6-3, 7-2. I think pretty easily. So say what you will. This team is good. Budge is absolutely fine. Jensen has questions for sure, but like he'll be fine. I guarantee you. And Berserker has yet to even have a pop-off game, and you know that is coming.
Definitely.
So I don't know. I have no fears on this team. I love this team. I think they're so good.
Yeah, no, on paper, I love the roster. I'm maybe a little bit lower on them than you, but we're in the same ballpark for sure. It's weird because Jensen hasn't looked good, and I'm a little bit worried about him. But then I remember, like, 2021, the whole year, Jensen didn't look good, but he turns it on. It's like he knows what we know, that the regular season doesn't matter at all. And, like, you don't want to see your people do bad because the regular season doesn't matter. And, we can only... Like it's hard because we know the regular season doesn't matter, but it's all that there is right now, and it's what we're watching, it's what we see. But we can't think about the playoff games that aren't happening yet. So we'll see what the playoffs look like. The story for all these teams isn't going to be fully told until the playoffs, and it can flip things on top of their head. Like maybe Flyquest is going to get 3-0'd every series. Maybe Flyquest is going to go on a run. All these teams, you don't know. But what it is kind of unfortunate is that there's 4 teams, maybe you throw in Flyquest, but the 4 big teams that are all right in the mix, only 3 of them are going to Worlds. And even if that last third game goes to game 5, one team makes it, one team loses, it changes the narrative and the storyline and the history so much. So right now, none of this matters, but pretty soon every single game is going to matter a whole lot. And, get to a game 5 situation. The C9 team has the talent, has the players to pull something out. Are they going to? We'll find out. And that's what's going to make this playoffs really fun because, we don't know what 3 teams are going to Worlds.
And I think that's great. It's not like the past where it always felt like we knew 1 and 2 teams that would probably go to Worlds. And then we were like, oh, we don't know the third team. Not because all the teams were good, but because most of the teams weren't very
Somebody
good. So
has
it was like,
to go.
who's just going to get hot? Yeah, somebody has to go. I like this C9 team. Like, if you're asking me to bet money, I got 2 teams that I feel like are going to Worlds. I think it's C9 and I think it's EG. I think that third spot is up for grabs, but I think that's, again, a good reason why. Yeah. I do think maybe you're a little off on this team. Like, I really think that Jensen is just completely limit testing right now and trying to refine his form on different champions. I'm going to check this. I want to say that he has played a different champion almost every game so far.
He's done. I know he's had like some Yone, some Azir, some craziness. He's done a little bit of everything.
I almost wonder if that is intentional. Let me check here.
Yeah,
he is. In 7 games, he has played 6 champions. Yone twice, Azir, LeBlanc, Corki, Victor, Yasuo. If you're going to tell me that is somebody who isn't just limit testing and trying things out again and really just being, I think, creative, then yeah, I'm not worried. I am not worried at all for Jensen. I really do believe, as much as I have shit on him in the past, and I have, I've always felt like he was boring, but that does not mean that he is not good.
Yeah.
I don't see what everybody else used to see. Like, it's weird. It feels like it's flip-flop, because it used to be that everybody's like,
what world is
this guy is god tier. Oh, he's better than Bjergsen. I'm like, dude, are you watching the same player that I am? That is not true. I'm sorry, but I never felt like that was true.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, oh, I don't know, man. Jensen doesn't look very good. And I'm like, he's still gonna probably be an all pro, and he took a full split off, and that has shown to affect people in a pretty serious way. I mean, it's like not playing at the highest level for any determined period of time, like any period of time more than normal, which is normally only about 2 months for Jensen because he generally is at Worlds,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's a long break for him. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, people forget he basically didn't play pro for 10 months. That's almost a year.
I know. And you
Like,
you can grind solo queue, you can grind champions queue, but like
yep,
esports is
it's
so
not the
weird
same.
that there's nothing that recreates the, scrim environment. Like there's just nothing like that, and it's where people try their hardest. There's just no way you can recreate that from your bedroom or wherever. So yeah, it's super
Yep,
weird sitting out.
agreed, agreed. All right, we got one more team left, and
Who's that?
this is one I don't know. Do you remember who it is? They don't seem to be a very significant team
Yeah,
right
no
now.
no stories going on, no nothing. Nobody's popping off on Twitter.
Hey, they had a banger week, but this time they didn't actually really do too much out of what was, well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe this week will be the first week of no crazy news out of TSM during the season. We'll see. I'm still not convinced that they're not going to do something stupid and take out the team that just won a game because, yes, shocker, TSM are now only 3 games under 500 by
Ooh.
some miracle when it felt like the whole world was falling down around them.
Yeah.
I I have my thoughts on this team. I've been going first. I want you to speak from the heart. Tell the people your true feelings on this team right now because I don't know them and I'm intrigued.
Yeah, no, I mean the team. I like a lot of what's going on with the team. I fear that for some of the people, they're maybe gonna get pushed too fast. Like I don't know if everyone's ready for this. Like, okay, Soul, he's super fun. Everyone saw him. Everybody saw him get on the mic. That was awesome. People are hyping him up. But like, it's like now he's going on Hotline League and stuff this week. It's like I would maybe want to shield him off for a little bit. Like, I get it. Everybody wants a new hype, exciting player, especially on TSM. Like, it's got everything that's the stars are aligning. But I'm like, give this kid some time to actually figure out what's going on. Let him focus. Let him play. Let him. He has the makings of a star, but like the base of it is playing really well, popping off, being great. It's not like, oh, like we finally have somebody who's like interesting, funny, exciting, charismatic, all this stuff. So we want to throw them all out there. And I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily best. I hope it is. We'll see. Chime is a guy who I would have loved TSM to go get between spring and summer, not go through
Yep.
this whole Mia Shenny thing. So like, I mean that, like I do
Agreed.
the rebuilding videos and stuff. That's who I wanted as their support. So I love that he's in there. He had a good second
Played
game,
well.
player of the game, all that stuff. And then Instinct coming up with the pentakill. I think people are the most questionable about Instinct. We'll see what the future looks like for him, but it was good. And I think if you have Spica and Maple, they've been really damn good. You're going to win some games. I think you're going to be in some games, and I think that's an awesome core for these young players to be playing around. That's great. I think TSM's headed in the right direction. I think where a lot of the ire and stuff comes from them right now is still the off the rift stuff and a lot of the weird things going on that just like as soon as this org has some good things going and I want to say good stuff about them, like they just can't help but push me. And as I talk to more people, a lot of other people away. And that's frustrating. But I'm also like, if that's what you guys want to do, that I mean, at this point, I am done caring about all that stuff. I love the on the riff stuff. It's not changing things off the riff for me though.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the pride and arrogance coming from this team, and this is coming from me. I literally have a show called Talking TSM. I have 2 TSM flags and like 3 jerseys, 2 hats, multiple shirts. Like I do love this team, but the arrogance of this team and these fans of just not accepting the fact that we're not good right now. That's okay,
Yeah.
right? But is there a light at the end of the tunnel if this team does it right? I think the only thing that is making me confident in Seoul right now, because we'll get into the game here in a second, the thing that's making me confident about Seoul, truly, is the fact that Hooney is the one that is coaching him.
Yeah.
He has a personal coach. Hooney is still there. He wants to be there to help this team get better. He wants to be a coach. There's a lot of implications with that. I don't think people really understand this. Spica's very close with Hooney. Soul, like in my interview, when I talked with him, he straight up said that Hooney is like he looks up to Hooney like Hooney is his deity almost.
Yeah.
He loves Hooney. Maybe deity is a strong word, but he like an older brother, like a can do no wrong older brother. I will
Right.
follow him to the end of the earth kind of guy. I think that's a little better. If Hooney stays with this team, I still think they need to revamp the coaching staff. I'm sorry, Chawi. I've now said it on multiple shows. I think you're a nice guy, but it's just that first draft even was this week was just weird. 3 losing lanes, like come on, man. I think if Hooney stays, this team has a real chance to actually kind of stick together. I like what I saw out of Chime. Even in that first game, like, yeah, he got caught out later, but so did everybody. Like, they were trying to make plays because they were down. I'm not going to blame him for that. But, like, he had a lot of really good handshakes. Like, really some of the best handshakes that I've seen, at least on TSM this year, which is not saying a lot, but saying
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he was like, a lot of people times with Rakan, I feel like a lot of people try to go from the front. They try to jump in from the front and do something. He was constantly behind them playing like secret agent or some shit. Like yes, the win may have been a little fluky against Flyquest. I don't think they normally are going to win like that.
Right.
I actually think they might have a chance now to be decent.
Yeah, and this
Yeah,
team,
like
this roster's only played a week together. Like just because
yeah,
they
look
didn't beat
solid.
FlyQuest in the best way possible or anything like that, they could be on the right track. With Chime, a lot of those were con engages too. I know a lot of people were talking about how he just kept getting out with a sliver of health. Like there was some thought and stuff going into what he was doing. There was
Sure.
he had control of his champion. He had control of the game. And yeah, like you said, that's more than could be said about a lot of the TSM supports. We've seen
Yes.
4th TSM support in a split and a half. Like,
And he's already the best one. And I don't think there's anything you can say. I mean, seriously, like
yeah,
his play was he was cognizant. He was making good decisions. And it's like, it just was refreshing to see that as a TSM fan. And I think I'm not going to overhype this team. I'm not like everybody else is like, oh, well, maybe we could finish 6th. Like, sure, there's a world where you could maybe finish 6th. That world is where CLG continues to fall and you're able to beat Golden Guardians as well, and then you beat Immortals and Dignitas. That's that world where you can finish 6th. Sure. More realistic expectation, my instant gut reaction is I actually think this team probably makes playoffs now. I genuinely do, unless if Soul and Instinct just completely do what they did in Academy, which is they stomped in week 1 and then just shit the bed in week 2.
that's
I
possible
don't think that's
too.
going to happen. It's possible. I don't think it's the likely outcome, but my gut reaction is regardless of being a fan, I think I've been pretty good at not like being overly, TSM favored. I'll call them out on their shit, but like I don't see they play Dignitas like unless if the team throws like Dignitas mid jungle alone can't go against Speak of Maple.
Mm-hmm.
I have full confidence in that, and I actually don't know if Gamsu is better than Soul.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
And Immortals should be better on paper, but they're
not.
clearly not.
Right.
Things are not working. Like it beat them. Golden Guardians also things are not working. Their bot lane may be as bad as TSM. So where are you going to try to win through? I guess maybe top, but TSM should sniff that out and be able to at least nullify that. And against CLG, dude, like, I don't know, guys, CLG just doesn't look good right now. And Palafox is very beatable, and so is Contract. So that's another game where you have a great mid jungle.
Yeah, TSM
You
could
can
run
win
that
those
one over.
games.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. Like, it really is going to come down to me at least, can Soul and Instinct just not be terrible? Like, even if they're just bad but not terrible, TSM can win some games just on the fact that their jungler and mid are pretty freaking good. And if Chime can just be like, rewatching these games this morning, dude, I was like, dude, Chime really like you could see him literally physically walking Instinct through the entire game. Like the amount of times he was keeping him alive, he was like what you want on that team is for Soul and Instinct to just listen to what everybody else says and do exactly what they are told. And then if you see an angle like Instinct did, then you take it. And like Soul did. When Soul did that TP, dude, it was game over. Like the minute that he came in and did that TP, Flyquest were done. They had
Yeah.
no chance. Philip should have stayed and ulted him. He didn't.
Or called it out that, hey, he's about
Well, he
to.
couldn't see him. If you actually
Yeah.
see him,
I
he's
know they
around
talked
the
about that. I didn't know
corner.
if he had vision or not.
No,
Yeah.
so he knew that he was around the corner, but he thought he was running up. And so instead of checking, Philip just starts instantly running up the river, and he gets Gnar form literally as that happens, and
Yeah.
he just goes, "Oops, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
because
TP to this
they
well-placed
did
ward."
not know that he was coming in Mega, because I think they both had flash and they both got
Well, I
ulted into the
actually think they
wall.
thought it was Swain
Oh,
because
geez.
Swain still had TP and he wasn't there either, and they couldn't see him. I mean, it was just honestly, it was probably the best play this year from TSM.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
genuinely, like
Right.
from the whole
Yeah,
team.
I was
Like
gonna say at least the best top lane TSM play of the year.
Huni had some pretty decent games in spring. I'd have to
Well,
go back and
I
look,
meant that
but
play. I meant that one play. Like, I think
oh,
that
sure,
TP in
yeah.
and was like, that's the coolest thing I've
Well, it
seen
was game
TSM
changing.
do.
It was game changing. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, the game was kind of close until that point, and then it was like, oh, nope, you really wanted to get third Drake? Don't think so.
Right, yeah,
Like,
yeah, and
no.
TSM's had some close games, and I think that's been part of the issue. Is, yeah, they get in those close games, they don't have the big play. I know, I remember there's a couple games where Huni has like been on a flank, and it never really like transpired into anything, or he TPs in and just gets blown up instantly. Like they there's a world where TSM maybe has won another game or two this split, and then this time they got in a close position. They actually made the play, and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. That's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, it was. It gives you hopium for sure, and you gotta wonder, like, again, people. I think people sometimes forget this. The difference between 3-6 and 2-7 is literally either being 5 games under 500 or 3 games.
Yeah.
It is that significant.
Yeah, it's
Like,
always a 2-game swing. Like, it's
it's
one
always a
game,
2-game
but it's
swing.
two
Yeah.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, and people just like I think sometimes forget that. Like if TSM win literally one more game, they are a game away from 500. And this weekend, they're playing they're playing Immortals. You know, like
They're hot right
and
now.
I've been saying yeah, they're hot. Yeah, I've been saying on talking TSM and stuff that like you know, there's a threshold that you need to get to make playoffs, and it is 6 wins in my mind. I think whichever of these bottom 3 teams gets to 6 wins first is likely going to be the team that makes it to playoffs. Now, if somehow, well, if it's potentially that TSM lose to Dignitas again, then that's when they are in trouble. But the fact that they were able to beat Immortals the first time around, if they can do so again, then they hold the tiebreaker over Immortals, and that pretty much knocks Immortals out completely. And if they're able to beat Dignitas, then that kind of knocks Dignitas out as well. So, like, TSM realistically, they only need 2 wins, and they pretty much make playoffs at this point, unless if those other
Woo.
teams basically win every other game. It's
No, no.
it's so dumb
Yeah.
that there are 8 teams, but like for a team like TSM, like think about this
Yeah, I
real
mean,
quick, and then
getting
we'll
a
end
couple
this.
more games, getting a best of 5 in could be big.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, if you get a best of series in for these young players,
Yeah.
right? Like they're probably gonna get stomped by whoever they play, whatever.
Oh, for
but
sure.
like
It's gonna be 3 games.
getting that
maybe 4.
experience is going to be huge for this team.
Yeah.
And if TSM make playoffs and actually end on a pretty good streak, I actually was predicting that they were more likely to go 4-5 through the rest of this. I think they can find another random win somewhere. That kind of changes the conversation, right? Like you go into next year and you think, wait, does this team really need to make a change? Do they just need more time to develop? Right? Like, I mean, what do you do at that point in the offseason when you have Soul who's playing potentially well enough to stay up? You are hopefully able to re-sign Spica. You already have Maple under contract. If Instinct is showing the potential that he did on 100 Thieves next, and Chime's playing well with Instinct, like, what do you really change there?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah,
in all reality, if you're a good org and they perform well by the end, then you kind of keep things the same unless if you have like a huge upgrade.
Right, right. And I don't really think they're going to be at the point in the, rebuilding to really go after like the big guy or whatever. You see that kind of as the team gets, like, hey, if we're one guy away from contention, they're not going to be there yet. But what I would love to see for them is, say they do keep the same 5 next year, whatever, really work on refilling that academy roster. Really go hard at that.
Yep.
Okay, you guys spent $1 million on LDL talent this year. I thought it was weird. I thought it was stupid. Take some of that money and have some guys below them. Have some dogs ready to make them compete. Have some guys you're going to sell off to another team. Go all in on this development. Don't be like, oh, hey, we got our guys. Now we're going to go cheap and just, our academy players don't even matter. We got young players at every position. Like, I would really like to see if TSM could become the team that's like, we invest in North America. We are a pipeline of talent. If, hey, maybe Instinct doesn't work out, here's the next guy behind him that you can still be excited about. That's the only way this is going to work, because, you know, they're going to have a lot of prospects. You don't hit on 100% of prospects. Maybe you're excited about all the players right now. The likelihood that all three of these guys are legit, it's unlikely.
It's extremely unlikely. And I think, again, I said this on the podcast Palooza, like, TSM needs to not only be good, but if TSM, which I believe they're going to get an amateur team back, by the way. They were one of the first teams to have one. I think they are going to have one once they have like this new regime,
like,
have their time.
Came from that team, I'm pretty sure. Like that.
No, he just came from the academy team.
Oh,
he was just
I thought he started
They
off
drafted
on the
him. No, they actually drafted him,
grounds.
I believe, in scouting grounds. So yeah, no, they didn't draft him. Echo Fox did, and then they picked him up.
Yeah,
that's what happened. But, you know, whether people like it or not, whether you're a C9 fan, a TL fan, 100 Thieves, EG, doesn't really matter. TSM are still the organization that drives the LCS. Okay? And if TSM are investing into NA talent, you think the rest of the teams aren't? The rest of the teams are actually going to be more inclined to, because if TSM is able to get 3 really good North American players that they brought up themselves on really nice, pretty cheap contracts probably to start out, because most of the time you get them on 2 and 3 year deals, so you don't have to pay them till they're like 22, which is old man age, in League of Legends.
Yeah, and then they're retiring.
But like you do that, and it's like every team is realizing, well, shit, we need to do that, because otherwise they're going to keep getting the best prospects, and then they're right back to being at the top, And it's like there is a formula where this can work. So I was at this place. I was hopeful for them at the beginning of the split. I really was. I saw what we are seeing now. I said, Soul, like they're setting Soul and Instinct up. Like that was the whole thing. It was like once the news originally came out that Hyper was gone, right, and that Onda was coming in, and that Chime was coming in, I thought to myself, I was like, dude, you have Instinct, Soul, and Instinct. Or, sorry,
Chime.
Takeover, Instinct, and Soul. All these players are 19 or 18 years old, right? I think people forget about Takeover. He's very young still, and he may be able to get NA residency by the time that he's there, because he came from a minor region.
Yeah.
There's a world where it felt to me like with the Onda and with the Chime moves, it was like, dude, they are building around these 3 guys to be something. And like, I really think Takeover still may even be a guy for them. He has been talk about a dog. That dude is almost solo carried this team to almost every win they have in Academy by himself. He is going to get a chance somewhere else. And TSM may regret not bringing him up at some point. I like Maple, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, we could go on talking TSM, But any last thoughts on the team before we call it a day? It's a longer episode, but I think a good one.
Yeah. I mean, my main stuff and the stuff that I'm gonna keep poking at and gonna make videos and stuff about is the other stuff, the TSM org and the messages and some of the stuff they're putting out. It's off-putting to a lot of people in the middle. I think it's really, really weird to a lot of people, and I wish they would stop doing some of that stuff, because like you say, when TSM's good, it's good for the LCS. You want TSM to be fun and exciting again, but people are kind of getting to the point where they're like, you guys are just like being weirdos now. It's like like you're down, so we don't. We wanted to kick you while you were down a little bit, but it's like now we're just trying to like stay away from you guys. Like you have the Reggie stuff too. It's like there's a lot more people that are like more on board with, is TSM worth everything else that's going on right now? And I think that's a shame. But also, I'm not like, oh, you guys are wrong. Like, I don't know.
No,
there's a lot of weird
stuff.
Even
as a TSM fan, I don't disagree with you. I still think the wording,
it's
just the wording on the Shenyi part in particular. Everything else about that message was fine, but the Shenyi part, I mean, I honestly feel like at this point they just did not like him. And I don't think
that's what it reads like.
Well, I mean, if he was as bad as they said, I can understand their frustration with him. Again, the wording on everybody's like, oh, you got to protect the player. Like, listen, if this guy truly was, maybe this is a bit of a hot take, if this guy was truly being that detrimental to your team and nobody really liked him, he was being rude and inconsiderate and a problem, like they make it sound like, then yeah, you have every right to be upset.
Yeah,
and maybe that was a bit of a vent from them by putting it out there. It's hard for me, though, for you to dunk on a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You got to be the adults at some point, and you got to be the mature ones. If something had come out in a
kicking
leak,
him. He's
that's
already out
fine.
of a job. He's already out of your hair. Like, you don't. Yeah.
Well, and they paid him well. I will
Right,
tell you
right.
that
Yeah,
much. A lot of
I
that
believe
million
that.
dollars that they spent went to him. He wanted that money. There's a reason also why I don't think he's gone. I believe he might even just sit on the contract again and just keep the money that is being earned to him. I'm
That's
serious.
crazy.
There's a reason why he is still in the contract database with TSM. I had heard that it was possible that, he took the TSM deal because he wanted the money. And not in a bad way, but like
Yeah.
apparently his family doesn't come from a lot of wealth.
Hey,
Like they are
nothing
not
wrong
very
with
wealthy.
money.
And he wanted the money. And the sad thing is I think to myself, I'm like, dude, then you should have really tried to just be a nice guy and not worry about it. But I don't know. It's such a nuanced
Yeah,
conversation.
we don't
There's
know the
just
whole picture too. So
yeah, the
it's hard
story.
to.
It is. It's hard. And it's like, again, to blame the org when you have two completely brand new pieces who didn't even want him in there in the first place. Again, I think I said it on Talking to Sam. I might have said it on this show too. I was told 2 weeks before the season even started, like they had just gotten the players there, that the new GM and head of esports and stuff, they really didn't like this idea at all.
Yeah.
Like it was forced upon them, and they were like, "I just don't know if this is gonna work."
Yeah, and
They
I think that's a
tried,
good
not
sign
very
because
hard,
that's the
but
stuff that I was saying the whole year, and that was also like what started the me and Dunk stuff in the first place. Is that I was like, hey guys, this is weird. What the heck are you guys doing? So I mean, if that's what they were saying behind the scenes, that seems logical to me.
I would agree. What's exciting is we have plenty to talk about, and we could probably do like 3 of these shows this week and still not have everything discussed. But that just means good news for you. So, punishment time. I do have to eat something extremely spicy. I don't have it with me now. I will find something. I will either do it on the next show or post it on Twitter. I may have double punishment next week, which sounds awful. So, please, I'm no longer defending Germ's take. It's bad. Vote it as bad. It's a bad take, okay? Please. Fnatic will find a way to be better than EG, maybe. Hopefully not, but maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Did you think of any punishments for this week? Because you're normally the punishment guy right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't think of anything good. Like sometimes it just randomly comes to me. So I was thinking of some some stupider stuff.
Hey, we're down for stupid too. Okay, so, it's a punishment regardless.
So one of them, the less weird and the more tame option, I was just like, it would be funny to like. My idea, like for me, and it could work for both of us. Like I wanted to post a picture, and like I have TSM sweatpants, TSM jersey, like I have TSM everything. I was gonna like, oh TSM win, like we're back on top, like something funny like that. And I was thinking, I know you have like TL Cloud9 stuff. I thought we could go that angle, just like. The confusing people on Twitter stuff is funny to me. But then I also saw a meme the other day that was like, do you guys eat the banana with the shell or without the shell? And it's like, taking a bite out of a banana that's still fully
I do
wrapped.
have bananas.
And
okay, I have one more for you.
Yeah.
And I just thought of this because you gave me a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Loser has to go to like their local supermarket or something. No, even better. You got to go stand on the side of the road somewhere, like at a 4-way stop, and just start talking about TSM like you're one of those like priests
like
that are out there on the side of the road trying to preach the gospel of TSM. What do you think? Either that or biting the banana. I'm okay with either one.
We can always keep some in the back pocket for later. No, I'm fine with. I'll go out and talk. I'm down for whatever.
10 minutes recorded video going on Twitter of you just sitting there preaching the good word of Spica and Bjergsen. Come see the light. Reggie does no wrong. He has never been wrong.
I'm down, but I'm just thinking also like the big cities that I've been in and stuff. There's always, you got the homeless people out. We can get a little gang going, whatever.
People start chanting TSM. Random friends. Hey, TSM, maybe they'll be pumped. Maybe they will share the video of us spreading the good word.
Might get a couple fans out of this.
And I'll tie it around my neck and I'll just start, Oh,
Oh,
I'll have my friend come and take the video. Okay, I like this one. We'll say
go for it.
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was
Just
gonna
in
say
case. We don't want to.
10's pushing
We
it.
don't want to get. We don't want to get. We don't want to get either arrested or
Disturbing the
attacked
peace
in
or
some way.
something.
Find some C9 fan. Ah, get the hell
Yeah.
out of here! Start
This is
throwing
my
shit at you.
corner. Yeah. Whatever.
All right. Well, this has been a longer but fun episode of Hot Takes. Please let us know in the comments whose take is worse. Also, let us know, where do you have these teams ranked? Because it's kind of crazy right now, and we don't really know. If you just sit down there and go in the comments, though, and put, well, EG are first, get out. Do something better. That's
You're
like
getting
the
muted.
most lukewarm. That's an ice cold take. Everybody already knows that. God. All right. For Jerem, I'm Rob. See y'all next week.
Peace.